quick quiz. What bird do you think this is? Gotcha on that one. Nope, that's not a gray kingbird. That's actually a northern mockingbird faking it. And depending on where you live, their playlist changes completely. They don't just sing their own songs, they steal songs from other birds, frogs, or even car alarms. And a single mockingbird can learn hundreds of calls over its lifetime. But here's the cool part. Their set playlist isn't random, it's actually shaped by the bird community around them. Did you notice how it changes every few seconds? That's a dead giveaway that it's a mockingbird. If you hear a call and you're like, oh, that sounds like a gray kingbird, or that sounds like a northern cardinal, but you hear a bunch of other calls mixed in one after another, that's a mockingbird. And mockingbirds are actually like regional radio stations. The hits they play depends on where they live. So if you live in Florida or in the Florida Keys, mockingbirds often mimic birds like cardinals, blue jays, red-winged blackbirds, and even gray kingbirds, yes, especially in summer when gray kingbirds are everywhere. During migration, they might sneak in a scarlet tanager or a warbler, but those are usually rare. Now, if you live in the southeast, like the Carolinas or Georgia or the Gulf states maybe, you can expect to hear calls mixed in like Carolina wrens, eastern towhees, tufted titmouse, and brown thrashers. And what about in swampy areas? They'll even copy tree frogs. If you live in areas like Texas or the Southwest, you'll hear western meadowlarks, scissortail flycatchers, and cactus wrens. Out in the desert towns, mockingbirds sometimes spice things up with car alarms, whistles, and squeaky gates. So what about if you live in the Northeast or the Midwest? Mockingbirds in this area will copy birds like eastern phoebes, Baltimore orioles, and chipping sparrows. Occasionally you'll catch a scarlet tanager or an eastern wood pewee type sound. And if you're on the West Coast, like California, they'll remix stuff like California scrub jays, house finches, and western tanagers, and bewick wrens. And in Los Angeles, your local mockingbird might be practicing its car alarm impressions right now. So yep, same bird, but totally different playlists, depending on where you live. So how do you know if you're hearing the real thing or a mockingbird imposter? The trick is the delivery. Mockingbirds almost always sing in sequences. Instead of just repeating one call over and over again, they'll cycle through 3 or 4 cardinal whistles, then to a wren, then toss in a blue jay, then end on a car alarm. It's like a nonstop mashup is their signature style. But these aren't just party tricks. Mockingbirds can actually give you clues about which birds are in your area. Hearing a mockingbird, for example, copying a gray kingbird, that means that kingbirds are nearby and that they have started to show up. I have witnessed this personally where I live, where I'll notice suddenly in the springtime, I'm starting to hear gray kingbird calls really early, but I realize later that it's just a mockingbird, and then boom, I'll start to notice that gray kingbirds are showing up. But they don't do it all the time. They don't like do it all winter. So yeah, it's interesting that they're just kind of copying who's around when. And maybe you've heard them do this with oriole calls when orioles are around. Scientists even study mockingbird repertoires to track local bird diversity. Did you know that? They're like living bird checklists. An eBird. Who needs eBird when you got mockingbirds, right? And here's another twist. Males actually use their giant sound libraries to impress females. The more songs they know, the better chance they have of finding a mate. So in bird-rich areas like Florida during migration, a mockingbird has a much bigger playlist to brag about than one in a quieter area. I guess it's the bigger the playlist, the bigger the brag, right? For the ladies. So next time you hear a bird singing, stop and listen. Is it the real thing? Or is it just a mockingbird running through its playlist? If the song switches every few seconds, you've just been fooled by nature's DJ. Thanks for watching. Hit like and subscribe so you don't miss the next bird story.